If we are expecting to have all of the information before we move forward in something, that's an old paradigm belief of this idea of perfection, this idea of a finish line, this idea of things being complete at some point. Nothing's ever complete. And that's kind of hard for our ego to hear. In fact, it's really hard for our ego to hear. Even in my own body, there's this sinking feeling of, what do you mean there's no completeness? There's no finish line. We kind of like that structure. It's why we've created all of our schools and all of our systems. It's very linear. I start here, this is the middle, and I end here. We create those paradigms for ourselves until they start to feel like they're the truth. But really what's happening is we're creating them for ourselves so that we can move through our perception of time. But we're moving into nonlinear time where we recognize that it's this sacred geometry structure that's constantly shifting and moving according to our creation. So it's really important that we begin to recognize that we are already started and we're never going to be done. The beginning of things we can start to see is as soon as the idea comes into our awareness, right? That's the beginning. And so we don't need to think of how much, the question was, do I have enough information to get going, or am I holding myself back? I can already feel that you sort of know the answer to that. It's inherent in the question. If you're asking if you're holding yourself back, usually the answer is yes, because there's this underlying feeling of, I need to be perfect in order to do this. It's reasonable to want to be of service at our highest capacity. So we want to look at the other measurement as well. We're learning balance on both sides. Are we holding ourselves back, or are we pushing forward? This is something that many of us are learning to balance in different areas. We might even be doing both at the same time, holding back and pushing. A lot of times we kind of do both, right? So witness yourself. Are you present with the moment? There isn't a finish line. There isn't even really a start point. Those are parameters that our human mind puts on things so that we can understand this flow through the human experience of time. But we're not here to be perfect. Perfect is that part that we're really disassembling, right? Perfect is that idea that we're really taking down. That masculine polarity wants to hold back until everything's perfect. And the feminine polarity, and this is the out of balance version, right? The coming into balance version is this beautiful dance that's in the present moment. But the out of balance version for that masculine polarity is holding back until we're perfect. And we all have both polarities within us, but witness what you're experiencing in yourself predominantly. And the feminine polarity out of balance is pushing. It's also grasping. Pushing and grasping are the same energies, right? Pushing and grasping. It's pushing and pulling. It's the force, right? Because we can see that that's out of balance. With that feminine polarity, because the feminine polarity is the creation from the void space. And the masculine polarity is that linear direction of knowing. Those are in the balance. Those are when those polarities are within balance, we're confident with our moving forward. We're in the knowing that the structure that we're creating is coming forward. And then the feminine is, it seems to be chaos because it's the void with ultimate creative possibility. It's the ultimate creative possibility that we're just in and flowing, and it's so potent. So coming back to the question, yes, you're holding back because you're waiting for perfection to show itself before you feel confident in stepping forward. But collectively, now let's look at how we can all know if we're holding back. We can know by practicing presence, and moving from the present moment, allowing that desire that springs up to be what we act on. We're afraid of our desires because there's a backlog. not because our desires are inherently bad, but because there's a backlog, because we've all practiced holding back. So we practice moving forward with that desire. And yes, we do it gently. And yes, we do it in a way that causes no harm as much as we can, right? But the energy that's behind all those desires that we've held back for so long is what's causing the calamity, and not the desire itself. It's the holding back that causes issue, and not the desire itself. That's very important information. Bookmark that. What causes chaos is holding back our desires. It is not the desire itself. Now, at times, there is reason for not acting on things. This is where we start to witness where that feminine polarity has been pushing out of fear, pushing and grasping out of fear. That has been happening, and we're witnessing both coming into balance.